Just ahead on Health News Update, what your fever may be doing and why stopping it too fast could backfire. And a new way doctors may see memory loss years ahead. And the small family routines experts say could shape a child's future. Those stories and more medical and research headlines coming up next on Health News Update. Hi, I'm Miranda Kahn with your Health News Update, where we bring you the latest in medical research from scientific journals and research institutions. We begin with a warning for anyone who's ever had a stroke or loves someone who has. Stroke is a leading cause of death and disability in the U.S. And if you've already had one, your risk goes up. In fact, experts say up to 1 in 4 stroke survivors will have another. But new guidance from the American Heart Association says one simple habit may help lower that risk. The association says safe, consistent movement is one of the most effective ways to reduce the risk of a second stroke. Even light activity like short walks or gentle strength exercises can make a lasting difference. Doctors recommend starting slowly, like using the stairs and working with your care team and building up over time. Experts say routine physical activity works because it helps lower blood pressure, improve balance, and support heart and brain health. From preventing a second stroke to fighting off everyday illness, when you start running a fever, most of us think the same thing. How do I get rid of this? But doctors say that rise in temperature may actually be your body doing what it's designed to do. New research from the University of Cambridge suggests heat itself can help slow down certain viruses. And lab tests with mice simply raising body temperature made it harder for flu viruses to survive, even without a strong immune response. The study adds to growing evidence that fever may be a built-in defense, not just a symptom of being sick. Experts say this doesn't mean that you should power through a high fever, but it may make us think twice about how quickly we reach for those fever-reducing medications when fighting off a virus. And while some illnesses pass quickly, others can take years to show up. Imagine knowing your risk for memory loss years before any symptoms. Researchers say a new tool may make that possible, and it could completely change how we approach Alzheimer's. A Mayo Clinic team has created a model that estimates a person's lifetime risk for mild cognitive impairment or dementia, even while they're still healthy. The tool looks at age, sex, genetics, and amyloid levels. That's the sticky protein that can build up in the brain years before memory problems start. Researchers found that the more amyloid you have, the higher your chance of developing memory issues later on in life. It's not a diagnostic test, but experts say it could help patients and doctors decide when to start early prevention or treatment discussions. The study was published in Lancet Neurology. Researchers say tools like this could soon play a big role in personalized dementia prevention. From brain health to new questions about some of the most talked about medications in America. There's new research on popular weight loss drugs like Ozempic, and it's raising questions about mental health. A new study found people with type 2 diabetes who started GLP-1 medications had a slightly higher risk of depression than those on other diabetes drugs. Now, the risk is about 9% higher, but seemed to level off after 6 months and was strongest in older adults. The study was led by a doctor at a medical university hospital in Taiwan, and it was published online in Diabetes, Obesity, Metabolism. Experts say the mental health risk appears small, and the overall benefits of GLP-1 medications still outweigh the concern for most patients. And for many patients, the bigger question may be what happens when those medications stop. So losing weight can feel like getting your life back. But a new study shows many people lose more than just pounds when the meds stop. They lose hope. Right now, about 1 in 8 adults in the U.S. has tried a popular weight loss medication. The study, published in JAMA Internal Medicine, looked at patients who had been using tirzepatide. That's the drug behind Mounjaro and Zepbound. and it found most regained a large chunk of the weight that they lost within a year of stopping. In fact, about half put back on 50% or more, and 1 in 4 regained at least 75%. As the scale crept up, so did blood pressure, cholesterol, blood sugar, and insulin resistance, pretty much erasing many of the health gains they fought for. Doctors warn these meds can transform lives, but only if you stay on them. For many patients, long-term treatment may be the only way to keep the weight and the health benefits from slipping away again. When health goals don't go as planned, it can feel frustrating. But experts say some of the most important health protections don't come from a prescription, they start at home. So here's the question for you. Do you do the same thing with your kids every day? Let's say, like dinner around the same time or a bedtime routine. Experts say those small habits may be doing more than you realize. In fact, they could shape how your child feels and functions long term.
It creates connection, and connection is the basis for a lot of really important things in childhood and child development. In addition to that connection, it creates opportunity for structure. It allows the kids to recognize some predictability and knowing what to expect. And there's a lot of long-term benefits found to be related to that.
Dr. Kate Eshelman says when kids know what to expect, it can help them feel safer and more confident. Without that predictability, children may act out, feel more anxious, or struggle with big emotions. Research shows a lack of routine can even impact a child's self-esteem and independence. Experts say, routines, they don't have to be rigid. They can be simple and flexible and built around what works for each family member. Think of things like a regular bedtime, family dinner, a morning drop-off routine, or even a nightly story. And experts add, it's never too late to start. Just expect a short adjustment period as kids get used to something new. Relief may also start with what's on your plate. So if you struggle with obesity and chronic pain, it may not be just how you eat, but what you eat that could make a real difference. A new study in the European Journal of Nutrition found that patients who followed a 3-month healthy eating plan cut their pain in half. Yes, half. That's even without a major weight loss. Participants ate more fruits, vegetables, and whole grains while limiting alcohol and sweets. Researchers say even small, consistent dietary changes can add up and may help you feel better, even if the scale doesn't move. Heart disease is still the #1 cause of death for both men and women in the United States. This according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. In fact, the CDC says someone dies from heart disease about every 30 seconds. But the good news is, many of the biggest risk factors are things that we can actually control. Here are some key habits and numbers that, according to a Mayo Clinic cardiologist, can help protect your heart and lower your risk.
The average heart beats 100,000 times per day, circulating blood and oxygen throughout the body. Dr. Demilade Adedanshewo, a Mayo Clinic cardiologist, says that to keep the heart healthy, there are 8 behaviors and numbers to keep in check. Let's start with sleep.
So 7 to 8 hours of sleep at night is recommended for ideal cardiovascular health.
Fewer hours or poor quality sleep can lead to physical symptoms that affect the rest of your body, including your heart. In addition to sleep, it's important to maintain a healthy weight. Keep blood glucose, blood cholesterol, and blood pressure that are all within range. Avoid smoking and secondhand smoke exposure. Follow an eating plan rich in nutrients, such as the Mediterranean or DASH diets. And exercise.
Get at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity physical activity every week. This does not necessarily have to be split up 30 minutes 5 days a week, even though that's an easy way that we think about it. Really, every little thing that you do adds up.
Well, as you just heard, experts say you don't have to do everything at once. Starting with one small change and sticking with it can help improve heart health over time. Up next, a new back procedure could help relieve pain for millions without surgery.
You're watching Health News Update, where we bring you the latest headlines from scientific journals and research institutions, medical breakthroughs, lifestyle tips, one-on-one interviews. You'll find it all on Health News Update.
Neck, spine, and back pain are extremely common. and millions of people seek out treatments that may help lessen the discomfort. Some may think, though, surgery is the only option, but there are many other conservative therapies that may ease the pain without surgery. Here to talk more about that is Dr. Jose Mena from Baptist Health Orthopedic Care. He's a board certified physiatrist who specializes in diagnosing and treating spine and back injuries, diseases, and disorders. Dr. Mena, thanks so much for joining us. So, what types of conditions do you see in your clinic?
So we see a lot of back problems all across, from young patients to older patients. So we essentially see from anywhere from simple sprains, disc herniations to spinal stenosis, which is essentially degenerative change in the spine. Also, we see arthritis, among other conditions.
So, when would back or spine surgery be the most effective option?
Surgery basically will be mainly two things that might require surgery. One will be patients that have failed for the most part a conservative approach, meaning that they have tried physical therapy, interventional spine procedures, and they're not help the those type of treatments are not helping them out in the long term. Also, another indication for surgery, immediate surgery, will be if they present with neurological problems, meaning they have an acute foot drop or weakness. Um, in those situations, normally an advanced imaging study such as an MRI is being obtained, and if we identify the source of where the neurological problem is coming out from, normally that will be another indication for spine surgery.
What would you say are the most common reasons for acute spine or neck pain?
Normally, is quite common on those patients who have either a compressed nerve due to a disc herniation or from arthritis, what people commonly call sciatica. We see that very often in clinics. It can present with pain in the either the upper extremity, radiating down to the arm, or in the or in the lower back, going down to the leg. Those patients, for the most part, in the absence of neurological symptoms, meaning weakness, they will undergo certain treatments. Normally we start on a conservative fashion, meaning with physical therapy, exercises, medications, and if that fails, normally we employ the use of interventional procedures or injections, to try to relieve their symptoms. Most of the time, conservative approach is really successful. We're talking as high as 80 to 90% of the time. And of course, there are patients that they don't respond to that initial conservative approach, and those are the patients that they will benefit from a spinal surgery consultation.
So, there's a newer procedure called a nerve ablation that isn't surgery but may help with nerve pain. Tell us more about that.
The age group for this procedure will be in the 40s and 50s. These patients, they typically present with back pain. Normally, it's worse with sitting, bending forward, lifting heavy. Normally, when we greet them on the exam room, often those patients are standing up because they don't want to be sitting down. Basically, what it is, the procedure essentially is like a root canal. What we do is that we get a needle inside, we duct the needle, and essentially what we want to do is denervate or coagulate the nerve, as a microscopic nerve that is inside the spine, which actually supplies or innervates the edges of the bone where there's connection between the bone and the disc, which is what we call the end plate. The primary purpose of the procedure is to take care of that nerve, coagulate it, or pretty much destroy it, and that way those symptoms they can improve and relieve the symptoms of pain. That nerve does not have any other function in the body, like sensation going on the legs or numbness or tingling or movement motor activity. It's just a sensory nerve in that zone, so the patient is not going to experience any kind of numbness or tingling or weakness whatsoever. We're not targeting the nerve that goes down the leg. So basically, what we're trying to interrupt is that the brain does not perceive the pain that is coming out from that zone. The procedure is effective in around 80% of the patients in relieving their symptoms to make them feel more functional. Not necessarily meaning that is 100% that they will feel 100% pain relief, but at least they will feel a significant amount of improvement that they feel themselves more functional. and able to do more activities of daily living and be able to sit down for a longer period of time, bend, lift, carrying things around, things that were prevented prior to the procedure. Those are the things that we're going to see that those patients should be able to do after the procedure. Relief from the procedure, it can take up to 3 months.
Wow. I mean, 3 months? That sounds like a long time, right?
On practice, what I see is anywhere between 6 to 8 weeks. Can be longer, can take up to 3 months. We can see also patients that they get relief immediately, like 2 or 3 weeks after the procedure, although that's not common. Normally, I will say anywhere between 6 to 8 weeks following the procedure. That's when we expect most of the relief to come out. They should be able to tolerate better the seating. They should be able to, for instance, they cannot bend over to brush their teeth, for instance, and they should be able to do those things easier if they do respond to the procedure well.
Wow, that is so interesting. And it's more information, I would say, for people to take with them when they go to the doctor. Thanks so much for joining us, Dr. Min. It was a pleasure to have you. Again, that was Dr. Jose Mena. He is a specialist in minimally invasive and non invasive spine and back procedures from Baptist Health Orthopedic Care. All right, that's a look at what's making headlines in the world of health and medicine. Tune in to our health news update every week to get the latest in medical research. I'm Miranda Kahn. I'll see you next time.